Kenny Omega is the new IWGP. Oh, whoops, my bad. Kenny Omega is the new Impact Wrestling and TNA World Heavyweight Champion, much to the joys of all the fans who are looking forward to the belt collector gimmick. New Japan Pro Wrestling still is having issues, this time regarding cancellations of their shows, which is not their fault, but we're still going to talk about it. Daniel Bryan says that he feels detached from his match at Wrestlemania this year, which is kind of alarming. We also preview AEW Dynamite, NXT, Friday Night Smackdown, and the upcoming New Japan Pro Wrestling tours this week. This is the 44th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEX on TikTok and SOOPLEX, two X's on Twitch, one X on TikTok. AKA Tyler Mask, AKA Tyler Coon Williams. I think I said Tyler Mask already, but whatever. AKA the one who lived. And welcome back to the 44th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. And that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like the Tokyo shows the New Japan will be holding in the next coming days. And I say silent because nobody will be there. Nobody will be there because these shows are no longer happening. But we'll get into that a bit later. Firstly, I want to get into the biggest news coming out of this Sunday, the last few days. And that is Kenny Omega. Last Sunday, Impact Wrestling held their pay-per-view Rebellion. I paid $40 for it. Just get a quick little overview of Impact Rebellion since I did watch the show. Overall, I thought the show was very middle of the road. Of the shows I've seen of Impact Wrestling, this is probably somewhere near the back. Of the two pay-per-views I've bought of Impact Wrestling, this is by far the least desirable one I've watched. I felt like every match on this show outside of the main event and the triple threat that opened the show, everything else just kind of fell in place. It really didn't matter, and nothing really was that captivating. But the tag team match with Fire and Flavor versus Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering was good. And the women's knockouts match between Deonna Purrazzo and Tennille Dashwood was also good. But like everything else is kind of like, I didn't care. Like I didn't really care about anything else, and nothing else really felt substantial. I mean, I guess you could really point to the only other thing on the show being of note would be that we saw the debut of W. Morrissey, otherwise known as Big Cass from WWE fame. He made his debut in a tag team match. He's now part of Eric Young's faction, which I still feel like is just a ripoff of Sanity, but that's just me. But he is now a part of their faction. I literally don't care. I would have cared if Enzo was there, but I don't care about Cat. And I said this on the live stream when I was doing my live reactions to Impact Rebellion. Like, Big Cass and Enzo Amore as a package deal, they were one of the hottest acts in WWE when they were like active in 2015 and 2016. Like, they were on fire. And I still am shocked to this day that they never won tag team gold in their time in WWE. But Enzo Amore carried the faction with his mic skills. Say what you will about him as a person. I heard he's an asshole. I've seen footage of him being an asshole. Say what you will about his wrestling ability because he was not a good wrestler. But on the mic, he was not touched by many other men. Like, he just had the charisma. He had the gift of the gab, as he would say. Like, the guy was literally just a heat-seeking missile when it came to being on the microphone. And it's undeniable. Like, without him, Big Cass would be kind of nothing. I'll be honest, like Big Cass, 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that, but 7 foot tall, he was agile enough for a guy his size because when you think about it, not too many guys in wrestling who are 7 feet tall can move the way that Big Cass did. I'm not saying this guy was doing dives and shit, but you know, he could run the ropes pretty well. He could actually deliver a really good big boot. He did elbow drops where he would like lift his feet off the ground and like jump up in the air. Like, this is stuff for like a normal sized wrestler is like, you know, that's basic stuff. But for a guy that tall, it's pretty impressive. when you grew up on guys like the Big Show and Great Khali who really don't move that much. Big Show did earlier in his career, but not towards the end of it. So seeing Big Cass do those things, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But Big Cass by himself, he was doomed to fail. And when Big Cass and Enzo broke up, which I thought Enzo excelled the most, and that's not even just me thinking, that is just proof because Enzo won the Cruiserweight Championship and led that division for like until he got released, I would say. Big Cass is kind of, they wanted to push him, they were starting to push him, and then they just kind of stopped pushing him. And then he got released. I don't remember why. I think it might have something to do with him. I don't remember why, but it was definitely not something good. A good reason why he got released. On his end, not in WWE's end. But like, he was never going to be WWE champion or any of that stuff without Enzo, because on the mic, there was nothing really captivating about him. So when I saw that, oh, Big Cass is here, I'm like, all right, where's Enzo? And I'm like, oh, there's no Enzo. I'm like, all right, well, I kind of don't care. I kind of don't care. And I'm happy for the guy because he looks like he's in better shape than he was in WWE. He got a whole six-pack now. He's looking like he's in better shape. You know, he's working out from what I hear. He's in a much better place mentally. Like, I'm happy for him, but I honestly just don't care. Now, as far as Enzo goes, I think he's pursuing rap, or he has been for the last few years. I heard he wrestled Brian Pillman Jr. Either this year or last year, so he isn't fully retired from pro wrestling, but if he ever wants to get back into it, and he wants to go to Impact and man, it's Cass, I'm not saying I'll tune in, but I might catch a clip on YouTube. That's all I'm saying about that. But yeah, he's W. Morrissey in Impact, which I like many others hate that name, W. Morrissey, which is probably his real name, more than likely. It's just when you think about a pro wrestler, you think of some badass name or whatever. I mean, if it's their real name, it's that's whatever. But W. Morrissey, like, the first things first, drop W from his name, because that just kind of ruins the aesthetic. Like, Morrissey is a fine name, I guess. I'm not saying I guess, like, I don't like his name. Morrissey is fine. W. Morrissey just sounds like too much. Drop W from his name, and if you could, change the name too. But hey, keep it as is, if you will, but just drop W. But getting into the main event of that show, which was Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann, I thought the match was... I watched it back a second time. It was really good at best. Like, some people saying, oh, it was a great match. It's one of the best matches of the year. Oh my God, guys, calm down. It was not that good. Like, Rich Swann got beat up for a lot of that match. And towards the end, like, Kenny Omega was starting to carry him towards the match, which I don't know if that was a story or if Rich Swann was legitimately just tired out. But, like, towards the end of the match, Kenny Omega was dragging this man to the rest of the match. Like I said, I don't know if that was a story or what. Because if that's the story, then that kind of just makes Rich Swann look weak. And, like, he couldn't hang with Kenny Omega. So, hopefully, he was just legitimately tired. But Kenny Omega did end up defeating Rich Swann with the One-Winged Angel to become the new Impact Wrestling and TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Remember, the Impact Wrestling Championship is now unified with the TNA Heavyweight Championship, so I shouldn't be saying TNA Heavyweight Championship, but I'm saying that because even though those titles are unified, for some reason they're still using the TNA World Heavyweight Championship as a prop, which, might I say, I think the TNA World Heavyweight Championship is a better looking title than the Impact Championship. I'm just not a fan of the whole red on the title belt design. It just, I don't know. I think the TNA Championship looks more like an actual wrestling, or even closer to the UFC Championship, in my opinion. It looks like a better wrestling championship, put it that way. One Easter egg that I want to point out here that I don't think a lot of people have really caught on to is that if you watch Kenny Omega winning, you know, the match back, when he poses with the championships, he grabs the TNA World Heavyweight Championship first, and then kind of has the Impact Wrestling Championship draped over his shoulder, or draped behind the championship. Like, he kind of almost dismisses it. And then when he goes to, like, you know, take a breath, he's holding 3 championships, so obviously he has to drop one because he can't hold all 3 of them at one time. But he drops the Impact World Championship and doesn't pick it back up. I think Don Callis picked it up for him. And it's just like, he seemed very much, at least from my eyes and body language wise, it seemed like he cared less about the Impact Championship and more about the TNA Championship. And then in the picture that was posted online of Kenny Omega, which may be the thumbnail for this video, of Kenny Omega holding all 3 championships, The TNA World Heavyweight Championship belt is literally draped over the Impact World Championship to the point where you can barely see the Impact Championship. And I don't know, and I said this to my manager, who's also a wrestling fan, and I'm like, it bugs me, because I don't know if this is storyline that he cares about the TNA Championship more, or if this is unconscious, and he just likes the design of the TNA Championship more. Like, I don't know if that's intentional or not, and it bugs me, because I'm currently writing a video essay on Kenny Omega, and I want to really include that in there, but I guess I gotta wait till Thursday and see what happens with Kenny Omega. Hopefully he's on the show on Thursday. I heard that he's supposed to be wrestling at the next big show Impact's having. I don't ask you what it's called, but it's supposed to be next month, so he will be either defending the championship or wrestling on that show. So Kenny Omega is going to be an active champion. I would like to believe he'll be an active champion, as he is holding the world championship. But then again, I look at the fact that Kenny Omega is also the AAA Mega Champion, which is the World Heavyweight Championship in AAA. That makes him a AAA champion, an AEW champion, and an Impact champion. He's currently holding 3 championships across 3 different promotions. The belt collector gimmick is starting off hot, isn't it? Here's the way I see it, and a lot of people may not agree with me, but here's my opinion about belt collector Kenny Omega. And I'm not going to say too much, because I am still creating a video essay, and I don't want to reveal too much of what I believe. I am not a big fan of the belt collector Kenny Omega gimmick. I don't like it as much, mainly because the belt collector gimmick as a whole isn't pulled off that well when the person is already signed to one of the companies. Like, if Kenny Omega were a traveling champion and he was a freelancer and he's holding this championship and that championship and that championship, then he can actually travel across these companies, defend no championships, whatever hoopla. When Kenny Omega is contracted to AEW, he is signed to AEW. That means he is obligated, and only obligated, to defend and wrestle for AEW. As far as Impact and AAA, there's no obligation. Yeah, he's the champion, and I'm sure he's either on a handshake deal or some legal agreement I don't know about, but he technically is not obligated to wrestle there, because at any moment, as long as there's no contract tampering, if Tony Khan did not want Kenny Omega to wrestle on a AAA show or wrestle on an Impact show, he could pull him. He could pull him and he won't wrestle on that show. It's just the level of there not being that true presence as the champion for the other companies that I'm just not keen on. Because Kenny Omega is only has that tied and binding to All Elite Wrestling. And of course, All Elite Wrestling is the main promotion that I watch. So that doesn't bother me. Like, him being the champion in AEW doesn't bother me. It's just everything else in between. Now, we are still at the very early stages of the belt collector gimmick, so I can't be too much of a judge on how his Impact reign will go, but I can be the judge on how his AAA reign has gone so far. Kenny Omega has been the AAA Mega Champion since October 19th, 2019, about 554 days. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but I estimated 554 days. AAA has held 76 shows since Kenny Omega has been the AAA champion. And of those 76 shows, Kenny Omega has defended his championship documented 4 times. 4 times across 76 shows. Now, Kenny Omega won that championship while he was signed to an AEW contract, so, yeah. And he wasn't really the whole belt collector gimmick didn't really develop until about, a few months ago? Because Kenny Omega wasn't talking about wanting to be a belt collector while he was the AAA champion last year, like early last year. It didn't really come up until he won the AEW championship. Well, fans didn't really start speaking into existence until he won the AEW championship and backed that up. Kenny Omega's defended a championship 4 times. 2 of the times he defended, half of the time he has defended that championship has been on AEW television. Once against Sammy Guevara, and the other time, I believe it was against Rey Fenix. The other 2 times was in AAA. So, in the company that he is holding the championship for, technically, Kenny Omega has only defended a championship 2 times. Once against Jack Evans, and the other time against Laredo Kid. The Jack Evans defense was in 2019. The Laredo Kid defense was in 2020. So once for every year that Kenny Omega has been a champion, he has defended the championship. That is not a really good fighting champion, if you ask me. To put things into perspective, because I know you're like, oh, but Tyler, he's like the Brock Lesnar. Put things into perspective here. When Brock Lesnar had his first reign as Universal Champion in WWE, he held that championship for 504 days. 50 days less than Kenny Omega, as of this moment. Winning at WrestleMania 33 against Goldberg in 2017 and dropping it to Roman Reigns SummerSlam 2018. So from April 2017 to August 2018, Brock Lesnar was the champion. In that time span of Brock Lesnar being the champion, he defended his championship against Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman collectively in a fatal 4-way match at SummerSlam 2017. Braun Strowman, and Kane collectively at Royal Rumble 2018, and then Roman Reigns twice. So to do the math there, Brock Lesnar defended his championship 6 times in 504 days. And mind you, Brock Lesnar was tied down to one company, so that may also help the fact, but he defended his championship 6 times across that year and a half span. That is also not counting house show defenses. Now, if you wanted to play around with it and kind of link it up to Kenny Omega, let's pretend the house show defenses are like, from different companies. Defended it in, AEW, some other shit. Those house show defenses add up to 11 because he had 5 house show defenses in that time period. So Brock Lesnar defended his championship 11 times, which is 7 more times than Kenny Omega has defended the AAA championship. And like I said earlier, he only defended the AAA championship in AAA 2 times. So that's technically 9 more Brock Lesnar defended in WWE. So to say that Kenny Omega is a part-time champion is almost partial statement, because part-time would imply that he's defended a championship more than, someone who's there sporadically. That is a sporadic champion, if you ask me. If you've only defended your championship 2 times in 2 years, you're not a part-time champion. You are a sporadic champion. You appear on occasion. That is not a fighting champion. So Kenny Omega being a AAA champion to me is nothing more than a prop. Kenny Omega holding the TNA Heavyweight Championship, that mind you is defunct, is a prop. So Kenny Omega actively is only holding 2 championships. The Impact Championship and the AEW Championship. The Impact Championship will be in due time. We'll see how that reigns. But I'm not confident Kenny Omega is going to be this fighting champion that people are going to believe to be. But let's also get into a question I was asked by Darth Thor in my YouTube comments section. He asked me, top 5 championships Omega should go after, and which ones should he win next? I'm going to say that I don't think he should win any more championships. Because, as I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of Kenny Omega as the belt collector, or the belt collector gimmick as a whole, unless that's pertaining to one person in that one promotion. Like, if Kenny Omega wanted to win the AEW championship, the TNT championship, and then the tag team championships, yeah, okay, that's fine. But going to GCW, then New Japan, then DDT, then all these other promotions and winning those championships, why? What? I feel like fans only like this concept in aesthetic only. People like the aesthetic. People like the look of somebody holding a bunch of championships because it resonates with them, close to somebody like a Conor McGregor holding multiple UFC championships, or Floyd Money Mayweather holding multiple boxing championships, or somebody like an Olympian winning multiple medals across one Olympic game in a single year. That is why fans like to see the belt collector gimmick. It gives them a level of importance. It gives that guy a level of being, one of the all-time greats. But in actuality, when you're technically not a sport and you're professional wrestling, and you're gonna hate me saying this, but this person is booked to win these championships. Kenny Omega being booked to win 5 other championships across 5 other promotions will mean that Kenny Omega would have to be an active champion in 5 other promotions, which logistically just is not possible, considering that once again, Kenny Omega is signed to AEW, and that is the main company he will be wrestling for, which means that when Kenny Omega needs to wrestle 4 times for AEW in one single month, he will likely not appear in those other 5 companies in that month. You think Kenny Omega is going to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship from Will Ospreay later in the year and then come back to Japan? Go back to when Chris Jericho was the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Back when he beat Tetsuya Naito at the Mania 2018. And a lot of fans hated that reign because Chris Jericho only defended the title 1 time. Chris Jericho won the championship in June. He didn't show up in July. He wasn't in the G1 Climax in August or July. He didn't show up in September. He didn't show up in October. He showed up in November to defend the championship against Evil. Then he didn't show up again until Wrestle Kingdom, where he lost the championship back to Tetsuya Naito. That's where I feel like this reign is heading if Kenny Omega were to win any other championships. He's going to be much like Chris Jericho holding the IWGP IC Championship, where he wins it. And yes, you could say Kenny Omega is your champion, but he is not your active champion. He is just your champion. And how does that make your company viewed? That your world champion is held by a guy that isn't there. That's how I see it as a booker. If I'm somebody who is booking a promotion, and let's say, I don't know, I have a small little indie promotion, right? Small indie promotion, maybe 50 people attend my show, maybe like 1,000 or so people know about it, watch it online. And I get the offer for Kenny Omega to hold my championship. In my head, awesome. Kenny Omega's a big name that might draw some viewers to my promotion. So initially, I'm gang-ho about it. Yeah, let's go. Kenny Omega's gonna hold my championship. But then, what I'm agreeing to is that Kenny Omega will be the champion. He will likely, maybe, because let's not sit here and pretend that Kenny Omega has been AAA champion actively and has been appearing on AEW every single week with that AAA championship. The only times I remember Kenny Omega actually appearing on AEW as the AAA champion is when he defended the championship. What other times have you remember seeing Kenny Omega with both championships? Or AEW acknowledging that he's the AAA champion? They barely do that. So there's no promise that I'm going to have my championship acknowledged on AEW television. And then he will come back, maybe later in the year, to defend the championship, likely win it, and then maybe lose it. Because there's no guarantee Kenny Omega is going to drop the title to anybody that I want to. Who's to say Kenny Omega won't relinquish the championship, which is just going to make my company look like shit. So in my head, after thinking about it more, I would probably deny that because I would rather have somebody that I am keen on, that I want to be the face or the ace of my promotion, hold that championship for a long time, have meaningful defenses, build his name up, and through those matches that will hopefully be great, get my name out there. And if I could have Kenny Omega on the show, that'd be awesome. But to have him as the champion that's not active, I don't know. I don't know about that one. There's a difference between having Kenny Omega as the champion and he defends it a couple times a year, and Kenny Omega as your champion, he defends it a few times a year. There's a difference in weight and importance. And if Kenny Omega isn't going to be an active champion in every promotion he's holding it in, then he shouldn't be active champions in other promotions. That's how I feel about that. So then I have a question from Betty Blue. And I'm going to assume it's a she. They ask, should AEW promote the fact that Kenny Omega is the Impact Wrestling World Champion? Because, after all, AEW never once mentioned that Kenny Omega was wrestling for the Impact Wrestling World Championship in the build-up to their match at Impact Rebellion. Rich Swann never appeared on the show. Kenny Omega never mentioned it. Commentary may have briefly mentioned it one time, but I definitely didn't hear about it. And we had one commercial, which was likely paid by Impact Wrestling to have on the show. And I talked about this with my coworker, and he brought to me a really good perspective that I actually kind of respect. I don't necessarily like it, but I respect it, and I don't think a lot of wrestling fans actually think about this either. AEW. Anytime Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone did their paid promotions for AEW, which I believe is every week on Impact Wrestling, anytime you see those, that is what it is. Paid promotions. Tony Khan pays money to Impact and to Anthem, or Pop T, one of the two, whatever TNA's running with, pays money to have AEW promoted on that television network. AEW, likely, I don't know if they're getting paid by Impact to have Kenny Omega on the show, but AEW, I'm sure, is getting some change from having Kenny Omega on that show. I don't think for a single second that Kenny Omega, for free, is appearing on Impact Wrestling. They are getting some profit off of Kenny Omega being on that show. There is not this handshake buddy deal. It is maybe a contract. It is a partnership. There is money involved. And my coworker said this. He said, well, if AEW is paying this money to be promoted on Impact Wrestling, but Impact is not willing to do the same, because think about it, how many times have you seen Impact Wrestling promoted on AEW television through a promotion of some sort? I only can think of that one time, which was last week. If they're not doing the same, then why should AEW bother promoting it? If they're shelling out money to promote themselves on Impact TV, but Impact is not doing the same, why should AEW help Impact in that sort? It's kind of like a group project, right? Think about it as a group project. If you have 3 people in your group back in high school, and you're all supposed to do an assignment, and you're the only person doing the work, everybody else is going out, having fun, doing parties, talking to their friends, whatever, while you're reading up at your desk every day, typing it up, you're probably going to be frustrated that the other 2 people are not really doing that much work. They may do a little bit, but they're not doing an equal amount of work. So what are you going to do about it? Well, you're probably going to leave their names off the assignment. They're going to be mad at you. But what are they going to do? They didn't do any work. They may try to make an argument that, well, our names are attached to it, but you didn't do any work. So I'm not going to give you any credit. And that's, I think, where AEW is coming from. If you're not going to really try to promote yourself on our promotion, why should we do the same? So it's like, if AEW is coming from that place, I don't really blame them. I can't blame them from a business perspective. So should AEW promote the Impact Wrestling World Championship on their TV? From the perspective of, trying to help a buddy out, yes. If you want to do the whole belt collector gimmick in AEW, yes. But from a business perspective, maybe not. Maybe not. But that's a question I pander off to you guys. Should AEW promote Impact more on their promotion? Comment down below, let me know. I'm coming at this from a perspective of a fan at the same time. I'm not in the wrestling business, but I'm getting this from how I see it if I was in a business, and from people who also work in the business. I've talked to somebody about this as well, so that's kind of how I'm coming at this from. That's my approach. But I'm also working on my own Kenny Omega video essay, which I can't tell you when it's going to be released. I'm expecting to get it out sometime within the next couple weeks. I'm still typing it up as I go. I'm really excited for it. I hope you guys are too. But that being said, Kenny Omega is the new Impact World Champion. Hoorah. New Japan Pro Wrestling has some shows that have been canceled. Now, this is not because the attendance has been low. But it is because Tokyo, once again, for the 3rd time, has found themselves in a state of emergency due to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, I know over here in the United States, we are starting to relinquish some of our protocol. Vaccines been distributed a lot more, but in other, third world countries, the vaccine is not being as distributed as it is here in the US. I don't know how vaccination distribution is over there in Japan, but I imagine it's probably not as expedited as it is over here in the United States, because we're bad. Even though we have the vaccine that's accessible to anybody now, it is still horrible over here with the cases. Still number one, I believe. But not just Tokyo, but Osaka, Kyoto, and now Hyogo, Japan, have all declared state of emergency, which is extended through May 11th. And with that state of emergency, a lot of these countries, prefectures in Japan, have kind of reached out to other spots, tourist attractions, events, venues, such like, advising that they shut down and they don't run until it is up. Now, I don't think it is entirely up to the venues. If they can run, they could go against it and run anyway. Obviously, if it gets bad, then they're going to be shut down in general. But I think they can have the option to still run. New Japan, however, has decided they're not going to. And their Korakuen Hall shows on May 8th, May 10th, and May 11th have been canceled, which is their Road to Grand Slam tour. That is their Road to Grand Slam and the Tokyo Dome tour. The Tokyo Dome show, Wrestle Grand Slam, will be happening on May 29th. So that is unaffected as of this moment. Now, if the I lost my train of thought for a second. What the hell? Why am I still losing my train of thought? Oh my God, guys. I just turned 24. I'm old. I'm old now. So don't blame me, all right? Blame my age. If the pandemic were to affect it even more and the state of emergency is extended out another month, then that could affect the Tokyo Dome show. But as of right now, that's unaffected. It is upsetting to know these shows have been canceled, but it is Road 2 shows, so it's not going to be too much of a blemish, considering that they can go to anywhere else in Japan and still run shows. It's not like it was last year where they were shut down completely. Other prefectures in Japan can still run shows. As far as I know, with Stardom, they haven't had their shows canceled yet either. I got to look this up real quick. Stardom schedule. I don't remember if their Cinderella tour is actually taking place in Korakuen Hall. I know the last show did, but I don't know if the current show is as well. Let's do a translation real quick. We're doing this live real time, by the way. That is actually happening in Tokyo, Japan. So yes, it is confirmed they didn't cancel the show, but they canceled the audience tickets. So they're still having their show on April 30th. There will just be no fans in attendance. So Stardom is kind of ahead of the curve right now. They didn't cancel the show, but they just said, we're just going to hold off. Now, what they have done is they have canceled some of the shows for Golden Week happening in Osaka and Edion Hall, which is also in Osaka. So they have canceled some shows, which is happening in May. But the one show that's happening in Tokyo is just the crowd can't attend. So some wrestling shows in Japan have already taken precaution. Some more have been canceled. I'm not too sure what those are. But New Japan isn't the only victim here. Just wanted to point that out. I was going to talk briefly about the whole Mickie James fiasco, about WWE, or at least somebody who works at WWE, sending Mickie James her belongings because she was one of the people who got released during Black Thursday 2 weeks ago. They sent her things, her gear, whatever she left in the arena and behind. They sent it to her in a box. And within the box was a trash bag consisting of all the things, all of her gear. Which you can pack up as, oh, they were just, packing her stuff up. But if someone placed your belongings in a trash bag, it's symbolic that they see you as trash. At least in someone else's mindset. In my mindset, if, God forbid, it's what happened. But if I got let go from my job and whatever is in my locker, they sent to me in a trash bag, I would see that as a sign of disrespect. They didn't respect me enough to just keep it in the box or put it in a nice case. They sent it in a trash bag. So yes, very disrespectful. And she put that Instagram post out saying basically, you know, not F WWE, but this is how they treated me. This is how they see me. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon responded back to this, apologizing to Mickie James, and basically stated that the person responsible no longer works for WWE. Basically, they fired them. This kind of created a chain reaction where a lot of backstage and upper management personnel in WWE have also been released. Mark Carrano was one of them. Total Diva star Mark Carrano. But I just wanted to point that out, that WWE is still just a heaping pile of shit for doing that to Mickie James, and for many other things they've done in the past. Just a reminder that the company that you watch is just not great. But something else I wanted to talk about here was Daniel Bryan. It's not really news, but it's something I wanted to really talk about because it's very interesting. His insight on how he saw his WrestleMania 37 performance. Because Daniel Bryan was in the main event of WrestleMania 37 Night 2 against Roman Reigns and Edge. Daniel Bryan was inserted into the match where Edge won the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan kind of found his way into it. Daniel Bryan had this to say when reporting to BT Sports. And he says, "It's taken me time to fully process what the experience was like because it wasn't like a normal thing," he explained. "It was really weird, like out of a body in it. Out of a body in it? Experience, I guess. When I'm wrestling, I feel everything, and I feel like I really enjoy it. This is weird. I was out there, and it felt like I was detached. It was so strange in the fact that before the match started, I got this strange feeling like, is this what it's like before you die? Am I going to die? I was like, well, okay. I don't know why or how it happened, but it was like anything I ever felt while wrestling." He later explained that odd detachment was like, whoa. He said, "Like I said, I'm either going to die or maybe it's a sign that this isn't, and it isn't, the same type of fulfillment that it was before. I've been trying to meditate on it and talk to my friends that I'm close with. Hey, what is that?" I'll tell you what that is. WrestleMania 30. Daniel Bryan main evented against Randy Orton and Batista. Won the WWE Championship. That was the height of his career, was in 2014. 7 years later, Daniel Bryan finds himself similarly in the same predicament where he's in the triple threat match for the main championship, but this time he loses. But he says this is the first time he's ever felt detached. And I can relate to this because I feel the same way about video games. When I was younger, I was a big gamer. I had the Nintendo DS, I had the PS Vita, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 1, Sega Genesis. I had the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the PS4. I had just about any game system a kid could want. GameCube, you name it, I owned it. And I played it for hours and days upon end. So many years I loved and played video games. Hell, when I first started YouTube, my channel was a gaming channel. It wasn't this channel, but I started off as a gaming channel. I wanted to be a gaming YouTuber. I was inspired by guys like PewDiePie and Dashy Games and Markiplier and so many other names, Toby Games. I was inspired. I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to be a gaming YouTuber. As time went on, I kind of deterred away from that, went into wrestling YouTube because wrestling is also one of my passions. But as I got older, I realized that my fulfillment wasn't coming from video games anymore. I think it was around the age of, I would want to say, 21. I kind of started to fall out of love with video games. There was a detachment there. Whenever I would pick up a game and want to play, I could only play for like a couple hours and then I would stop. The only fulfillment I would get out playing video games was playing a wrestling video game because it was that attachment to pro wrestling. But outside of that, if it was any other game, I could play for like maybe a few minutes or maybe 30 minutes or an hour if I'm lucky, and then I would just quit because I wasn't really feeling it. There was an attachment where in a few years prior, I could play for hours. But there's two reasons why that attachment happens. The first is depression, which I do suffer from depression. So I wholeheartedly believe it is the first one. Mostly the first one. But the second one is loss of passion. The passion I have for video games is just kind of lost now. And there's many other factors that go into that. But I believe that Daniel Bryan, I don't know if Daniel Bryan's depressed. I can't diagnose him. It's not my place to, and I'm not Daniel Bryan. Only he knows if he's depressed. But what I can say is that if he's detached from it, it's mainly because he probably has been in the same place, the same area for 11 years. Daniel Bryan has been with WWE for 11 years now, since 2010. Doing the same thing, wrestling the same people. He probably feels detached because he's done this before. He's been in that WrestleMania main event before. He's won Money in the Bank before. He's been WWE champion. He's been the face of the company. The only thing I can honestly say Daniel Bryan has not done is win the Royal Rumble. But he honestly doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble. Why does he need to win it? When this year proves that he can find himself in a main event of WrestleMania without doing that. There's no need for him to win a Rumble. He can literally do anything else, but he's done everything else. Submission matches, 2 out of 3 fall matches, Iron Man matches, ladder matches, tables matches, you name it, Daniel Bryan has done it. So I think Daniel Bryan is just creatively bored. And maybe as he's getting older, because he's 40 years old now, maybe he's starting to realize that maybe I'm not interested in what I'm doing. And it's not just it's the wrestling is the attachment, because that's what he's been doing for so long, but it's just that he's been in this place for so long that maybe it's time to look for something else to do. And if Daniel Bryan still loves pro wrestling, then obviously the answer is to leave WWE. I think that attachment is just that he doesn't know if he still truly loves WWE or not. He's bored. He doesn't. This is my assumption. I'm not speaking for Daniel Bryan here. I'm not trying to diagnose him, but I can relate. I'm empathetic towards how he feels. I think right now, if I'm Daniel Bryan's friend, like he says, if I'm Daniel Bryan's friend, and I see that Daniel Bryan's contract is coming up later this year, I'm advising that he leaves WWE. I'm advising that he leaves WWE and he freelances for a while, or he goes to Japan, or he goes to AEW, and he tries other things. Because the longer he's in WWE, he might end up being like me and no longer like pro wrestling anymore. Or he might be like a CM Punk in 2014 and leave pro wrestling forever. CM Punk left WWE in 2014 because WWE beat it out of him. You know, he, much like Daniel Bryan, kind of accomplished everything except being a Royal Rumble winner. I mean, he never main evented WrestleMania. But on top of that, it was mistreatment from the company. The love for WWE was beaten out of him. And it's not the first time I've heard that. You've heard that for so many other guys who leave WWE. Wrestling, their love for wrestling is beaten out of them from that company. And the only way they really get that love back, fuck Jon Moxley, bro. Jon Moxley, when he left WWE and he did that interview with Chris Jericho, he went off on WWE and Vince McMahon. He said that his love for wrestling almost died because of WWE. And the only way he felt like a teenager again, the only way he felt alive again, the only way he got that feeling of feeling like this is what I meant to do again, is by leaving the company and signing with AEW, doing other things like GCW and other indie promotions. That's how he got his love back. I don't know about CM Punk getting his love back, because he obviously left pro wrestling, but Jon Moxley got his love back by doing that. Other wrestlers that I've heard stories of got their love back by pursuing other things. So I think Daniel Bryan just should leave WWE. And I'm not saying that to be some wrestling fan like, oh, I personally want to see him do this in AEW. Like, no, if for your mental health, I think it's best that he leaves the company. Like, I wish there was something that could attach me back to video games, but I don't know what that is. I mean, a few days ago, I played Gang Beasts with my friends, and I had a great time, so maybe that's just it. Maybe it's just that he has to pursue other things and find what his love is again. I think the options are either leave WWE or stop wrestling for a while. I'm not saying he should never go back to WWE. I'm not saying that. I'm saying for at least a year, take time off. Take time off for a year. Because the fact that he was in the main event of WrestleMania, something that guys dream of and never even get to do, He was in the main event of WrestleMania and felt like he was detached from it. Like, am I going to die? That's horrible. That's got to be depression. But that is the sign of somebody who is losing their passion and needs to desperately get it back. And I think the only way he's going to get that back is by leaving WWE. That's how I see that playing out. That's so deep. I kind of want to end the podcast here, but I still want to do some previews here. So WWE NXT is tonight. We have Kushida at MSK versus Legado del Fantasma. Kushida being the Cruiserweight champion, MSK being the tag team champions. These guys are obviously going to be feuding with Legado del Fantasma for a while. I'm going to say Legado wins. Legado wins, and we probably end up getting a rematch between Kushida and Santos Escobar. And MSK is going to get their championship match against, what are the names? Hakeem Wild and what's the other guy's name? I forgot that. Raul Mendoza. So that's what's going on there. Mercedes Martinez versus Dakota Kai. Mercedes Martinez, I believe, wants to go after Raquel Gonzalez, and the best way to do that is to beat Dakota Kai. So I think Mercedes wins this, and we get Mercedes and Raquel at some point within the next month or so. I don't know when's the next TakeOver. We just got one earlier in April. By the metrics of how it was last year, I'm going to guess the next one is in June. So maybe that's when they do Mercedes and Raquel. Adam Cole has a sit-down interview. It's going to be interesting because Adam Cole just lost his feud with Kyle O'Reilly, and he's been in NXT for 4 years. 2017. I was there when he debuted at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. He's been in NXT for 4 years now and has already been NXT champion, I believe, 2 times. He's tag team champions, North American champion. Well, tag team champion due to Freebird rule, but North American. He's held every championship there is to hold in NXT, and he's been at the top already, and he's already lost his feud with Kyle O'Reilly. So indicators would point to him going to the main roster. Maybe that's where he's like. I mean, Roderick Strong, he quit NXT reportedly. I mean, on TV, quit NXT, quote unquote. Maybe Adam Cole's going to do the same thing. Maybe move up to some Raw or SmackDown. I mean, I don't know how his career is going to go on Raw or SmackDown, but I don't know what else he has to do in NXT. So, curious about that. Bronson Reed versus Austin Theory for North American Championship implications. I have no idea why they call it implications. Just say it's a number one contenders match. But Bronson Reed just had a match with Johnny Gargano at TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 2, and he lost. So unless they want to do rematch, Austin Theory winning might cause some dissension between the way, since you already have Dexter Lumis swindling up, what's her name? I'm forgetting so many names. This is what age does to you guys. Swindling up whatever the girl's name in the way is. Not Candice LeRae, but the other one. Indy Hartwell. Swindles her up. So maybe Austin Theory starts a mini, I don't want to say mini feud, but like that match with Johnny Gargano, and maybe that causes more of a rift. I don't want to see the way break up yet, but that kind of continues it. That's NXT. Dynamite this week. We have some tag team matches. You knew it wasn't going to last too long. But we have Billy Gunn, Dustin Rhodes, and Lee Johnson of the Nightmare Family versus QT Marshall, Nick Comoroto, Caveman as I call him, and Aaron Solo of The Factory. They're continuing out this feud with QT versus the Nightmare Family. I only can assume this is building up to QT Marshall versus Cody at Double or Nothing, because we haven't seen Cody in the last few weeks, which has really been such a refresher to not see Cody at all, at any capacity. So if that's building what we're building up to, because I don't remember the Cody QT Marshall having this decisive finish. If that's what we're building up to, okay, Cody's obviously going to win that match. But if not, I don't know where else this is going, because they're already doing a blood and guts match with another faction. But I'm going to go with QT and the Factory to win this match. We have the Young Bucks versus Matt and Mike Sydal for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Brothers versus brothers. That should be really good. I'm going to go with the Young Bucks to retain, because I firmly believe not only the match should be, not only the match will be, but should be will be, should be. The Young Bucks versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston for the AEW Tag Team Championships at Double or Nothing. That's what it seems like they're heading towards, and I firmly want to see Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston win those championships. They have been the most entertaining part of Dynamite for the last few weeks, and I really want to see them have the championships together. They don't got to hold it for the entire year, but they're entertaining act. They should be holding the championships. Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. Yeah, it's a match with Chris Statlander. I don't know why I said it that way. It sounds horrible. It's a match with Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford. There's no implications, but Chris Statlander wins. Build her back up, possibly for a match in the future. We have no Hikaru Shida on the show. Oh my god. Why did they not book Shida? I really am curious as to why they refused to book Hikaru Shida. Like, she is signed to the company and she moved to the States. But yet she's wrestled only 3 times this year as the AEW Women's Champion. We're heading into May. It's almost like a slap in the face to the rest of the women's division that you have Tay Conti wrestling 13 times, Britt Baker wrestling 9 times, Nyla Rose wrestling 5 times. All these women who wrestled so many more times, but Shida is your champion and has only wrestled 3 of the 4 months of the year. That is fucking crazy to me. And 3 of those times were championship matches, and 1 was a tag team match. She's basically like the Kenny Omega of AAA. But nobody's ready to have that conversation. I'm ready for Britt Baker to beat her. I love Shida to death, but I am so ready for her to lose that championship because she should not be holding it if she's going to be that inactive as a champion. It's not her fault. It's the booker's fault for booking her that way, but that's just how I feel about it right now. We have Penta El Zero M versus Orange Cassidy. That's going to be a fun match. Penta wins. They've been trying to build him up separately from Rey Fenix and Pac. So I'm going to say that maybe they're building towards Pentagon versus Darby Allin, possibly at Double or Nothing, because I don't know what other direction Darby's heading in. He's just doing championship defenses, which is fine by me. But he has no feud going into Double or Nothing yet. So I'm going to say Penta wins this match. We also have Darby Allin versus Preston Vance for the TNT Championship. I think this is Darby's 8th defense, so he's definitely going to be eclipsing or passing Cody Rhodes very soon. I think he retains this and Penta attacks Darby, and that's how we set up Penta versus Darby at Double or Nothing. And then Brian Cage versus Hangman Page. That's going to be an interesting one because Brian Cage obviously is the front runner of Team Taz. He's been built up pretty well. But you have Hangman Page, who's been on a singles, win streak for quite a while now. Hangman Page, I believe, will win this match. I don't know if it's going to be clean, but he wins this match. What I mean by clean is maybe a distraction or one of those things. I think he wins this match, and then he's going to proclaim to be next in line to face Kenny Omega. Because it seems like Hangman Page wants to face Kenny Omega, but is very conflicted on if he truly wants to do that. And Kenny Omega's been actively ignoring it. It's almost like they don't want to cross paths with each other. They're reluctant to. Mainly Hangman is. But he wants to be the AEW champion, but he doesn't want to beat Kenny for it. Oh, I love this. I love Hangman Page's arc, man. I love it so much. Oh my god. I really hope Hangman challenges Kenny Omega this week. I really hope that's where we're heading. Because it's going to add to my video essay that I'm working on. I love AEW storytelling sometimes. Most of the time I do. Sometimes I question it, but most of the times I love it. Friday Night Smackdown. I'm previewing it this week because, honestly and truly, I've been hearing so much great things about SmackDown that I'm like, you know what? We got 2 championship matches. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it the old college try this week. And I'll give you guys my sailor's promise that I don't know if it's going to be Saturday. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday, but I don't know if it's going to be next week on the Chillsville podcast, but I will bring to you a very rare SmackDown review. This show has 2 championship matches announced so far. Apollo Crews versus Big E for the Intercontinental Champion. This is the 5th championship match these guys have had this year. I'm a bit over it, but Big E is entitled to his championship rematch, so I'm going to go with Apollo to retain. I know Cesaro is currently feuding with Roman Reigns. Edge is raiding in a loom somewhere. Seth Rollins is kind of they seem like they know what they're doing. SmackDown seems like they've been on a shit lately. So, as a wrestling fan, all I ever want is to see great wrestling, great stories to portray that wrestling. And if SmackDown is performing great stories, then they're going to get my time. Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan is the main event this week. And it intrigues me because of what Daniel Bryan said. This is for the Universal Championship. Daniel Bryan has faced off for the Universal Championship once before WrestleMania, and he lost. And at WrestleMania, he lost. This is his third championship match against Roman Reigns. Where if he loses, Daniel Bryan will leave the SmackDown roster. Like, basically, Roman Reigns said, I never want to see you again. So basically, he's going to leave SmackDown, because I don't think he's leaving WWE just yet. Hopefully, just yet. So I'm guessing Daniel Bryan is either going to go to Raw, because I don't see him going to NXT. It would be a blessing if he goes to NXT. But I think he's probably going to Raw. Once he probably will end up wanting to leave more if he goes to Raw. But I think Roman Reigns retains. I don't think it's going to be Daniel Bryan. I don't think Daniel Bryan's winning it. I don't see it. Unless they're going to do Daniel Bryan feuding with Edge, I don't think Daniel Bryan wins. I think Roman Reigns retains. But I'm genuinely curious, given Daniel Bryan's words, about where that heads. So I will be watching SmackDown this week. Lastly, we'll end things out here with, well, I guess before that, rumor mill. Ty William, who I'm not related to, left some comments on one of my posts about some rumors that he's heard. Now, I'm not somebody who likes to, read too much into these rumors, but for content purposes, I'll bite on these rumors. He listed 10, so I'll briefly go over the 10 of them. He says Daniel Bryan might go to AEW or NJPW, which I talked about earlier. I hope he goes to one of those companies or just freelances, but I don't know. I don't know where his head's at. Oh, I know where his head's at now, but I don't know where his head's at this moment. Kenny Omega versus Nick Aldus for the NWA Championship. You can do that match, but I don't hope Kenny Omega beats him. Jim Ross wants Will Ospreay to come to AEW to face Kenny Omega. I'm down for that. I'm down for Will Ospreay facing Kenny Omega in AEW for the AEW Championship. I'm down for that. It could go both ways. We don't have to have Kenny Omega go to companies to face off for their championship. We could have Will Ospreay come to AEW face off for the AEW Championship. Think about that. Double title match, maybe. Rather not. Mickie James is coming back to Impact Wrestling. Yes, all of my yes. Kenny Omega wrestles Kota Ibushi in DDT Pro instead of AEW. Wouldn't be a title versus title match, but a career versus career match. I don't know where you heard that one. So you're implying that Kenny Omega's going to retire Kota Ibushi or vice versa? Yeah, no, I don't see that happening. Nor would I want that to happen. Would not want that to happen unless they're legitimately going to retire. Because everybody knows retirements in pro wrestling only have like 100% a success rate, 100% unsuccess rate. Like maybe like 1%, 99%. 1% of people actually stay retired. I can only think of Stone Cold and Bret Hart, honestly, who have not come back yet. Wrestling fans are not cool with the Golden Leopard storyline because of the gay theme. Some aren't. I'm cool with it. Charlotte Flair fed up with WWE. I don't personally know Charlotte Flair, so I wouldn't know. And I haven't seen the rumor anywhere, so I wouldn't know either. Bayley might be released from WWE because of new management team. Now, I have definitely not heard, so I can't really talk about that one. And Brandy Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes taking full control of the AEW Women's Division. I have not heard that one either. Bayley ain't getting released. Bayley is like one of their top 5 women that they love and will push to the moon no matter what. Bayley ain't getting released. And Brandy Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes taking full control of the women's division. As long as it's better, good. And then we have New Japan Pro Wrestling. They have 4 shows coming up. 2 coming up this week and then 2 coming up next week. I'm going to talk about the main matches happening on this show, not every match in between. Wrestling Tatsuma Nakuni Night 1 happens tomorrow, April 28th. We have Toriano defending the KOPW provisional title against Evil. Evil's fall has been really graceful. Really graceful fall. And it's actually very upsetting to think about where he was last year to where he is now. If Evil wins, that is actually going to be more of a burial than him losing. So I think Toriano beats Evil. And then the main event of that show, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships are defended. Yo and Sho go up against El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. I honestly am not too invested in this match because I've seen this match like 4 times before. But I'll go with Yo and Sho to retain. And wrestling, Satsuma no Kuni Night 2 happening on Thursday, April 29th. We have tag team matches galore. The top 2 being Will Ospreay and the Great Okan versus Shingo Takagi and Tetsuya Naito. Yes, please give me Will Ospreay versus Tetsuya Naito. I really want to see that match. I'm going to go with the Great Okan pinning Tetsuya Naito. And then the main event, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi. The Golden Aces are back together again. Reunited and it feels so good. Versus Aaron Henare and Jeff Cobb. Aaron Henare got pinned by Sonata on one of the last New Japan shows. So Aaron Henare needs that dub back. I'm going to be bold here. And I'm going to say that Aaron Henare or Jeff Cobb pins Kota Ibushi. Because Kota Ibushi already took an L. He's not getting back into that title for a while. So he can manage to take an L here. I'm going to be bold and say it's probably going to be Jeff Cobb pinning Kota Ibushi. Since he's done it before anyway, so it wouldn't be that bad. Wrestling Dontaku Night 1. We have 3 key matches here. We have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tonga Loa. Zack Sabre Jr. wins. And an Iron Finger from Hell ladder match. Taichi defending his Iron Finger against Tama Tonga. Yep, that match is happening. I think if I were a bigger fan of New Japan at the moment, I'd be excited because it's a wacky match, but I don't really care. So, Taichi retains. And then the main event is the Never Openweight Championship is defended as Hiroshi Tanahashi goes up against Jay White. That's their 6th match against each other. Well, their 7th now, I should say. Jay White's being the new Never champion really is going to uplift that. I mean, Tanahashi's been the champion since January, and that alone is an uplift for the championship. But getting more guys who have been main eventers to hold that championship that's going to be better for the championship itself. So I'm going to say Jay White beats Tanahashi to become the new Never champion. The more top guys, Jay White is 2-step. 1-step Tanahashi, 2-step Jay White. Let's get Ibushi to hold that championship again. Let's possibly, if they can, they won't, get Okada to possibly fit around with it again. Get Naito to fit around with it again. And then that Never Championship will feel like a bigger deal. So I'm down for that. Wrestling Dontaku Night 2. We have IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion El Desperado defending against Yo. This is Yo's, I think, first time defending. Going up for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to say that El Desperado retains because Yo is going to end up beating him a few shows prior for the tag titles. I think it's only fair that El Desperado retains this title here. Then the main event of Dontaku Night 2. Will Ospreay will be defending his IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Shingo Takagi. And the winner of that match will go on to defend the championship against Okada in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Grand Slam later that month. I believe Will Ospreay will retain. And we're getting Will Ospreay versus Okada for the Tokyo Dome, second helping this year. I firmly believe they're going to pull off this story of doing 3 Ospreay Okada Tokyo Dome matches in the course of 1 year. The first one being Wrestle Kingdom 15, the second one being Tokyo Grand Slam, and then the last one being at Wrestle Kingdom 16. Maybe all 3 of them for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, but we'll talk about that at a later date. I think Will Ospreay retains. My investment in New Japan is still low, so I can't guarantee I'm going to watch all 4 of these shows and review them, but I'll make an effort to at least watch the Dontaku tours. At least the key matches that I care about. And that is Chillsville Podcast episode 44. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let me know. We had a lot of cool, really thought-provoking things to talk about this week. I'm really proud of this episode. I hope you guys like it too. Comment down below all your thoughts on Daniel Bryan. All your thoughts on Kenny Omega. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out, guys.